speaker today is Robert Martin, and I'm sure all of you read the material that I put out in the announcement. But Robert is a founder of City Limits Publishing, and what's really important is he is going to publish my book. So that's the important thing here. But no, joking aside, it's a very impressive resume that he has. I'm not going to go through all of it, but he's presently a PhD candidate in organizational leadership from Indiana Wesleyan University, where he's a part-time adjunct professor teaching entrepreneurship and introduction to business courses. He founded City Limits Publishing during the 2020 COVID pandemic after losing his job as chief editor of a travel magazine. After years of working in marketing and editorial for small presses and as chief editor of 2 magazines, he went out on his own and in 1 year has grown City Limits Publishing to include over 70 authors, 14 full-time staff members, and over 100 titles, with a full editorial calendar into the third quarter of 2022. He's author of 9 books ranging from theatrical to poetry, children books to photography and travel. With that, Robert, it's all yours.
Well, thank you all very much. I'm first going to share my screen, if that's all right. I have a little presentation.
Absolutely.
All right. It says that the host is disabled participant sharing.
There's one let me see.
Multiple screens.
Okay, try it now.
All right. Here we go. Ain't Zoom grand, as my grandmother likes to say when we do our Zoom sessions. All right. First of all, thank you so much for the introduction, Jim. I really appreciate it. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
In the presentation? Excellent. Thank you for the introduction. All that I appreciate everything that you've said. It just reminds me that I have not slept in over a year. So please forgive me if I stumble and fall today. I would not advise starting a publishing company during a global pandemic. The challenges that we have faced, which we'll talk about a little bit during this presentation, it's been quite a ride. So KDP, Ingram Spark, and a traditional publisher all walk into a bar. If you hold on with me until the very end, I'm going to finish that joke, and hopefully it'll be satisfying for all of us. My husband loved it, so I'll preface with that. All right. If the pandemic has taught me anything, it's that I warn you in advance that I have a dog who barks. So if you hear him in the background, just think of that cute little face and don't get too upset. All right, as Jim said a little bit about me, I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. I lived and worked in Miami and New York City for 2 small presses and a travel magazine before I started my own company. And that's been quite the journey. Our discussion today. First of all, I want to say this is not a lecture. I want this to be more of an open discussion, so let's talk. Feel free to use the chat if you have any questions as I go. A lot of this won't be new information, but I do hope that I'm presenting it in a way that changes your perspective a bit on working with a traditional publisher. And I've tried to keep the horrible stock images to a minimum. This is probably my favorite stock image because who knows why this person is wearing glasses, headbands, and corn. So let's start with a little bit of trivia. So if everybody wants to open up their chat box, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And the first person to answer each question correctly will receive a free copy of Jim Hitt's book, The Carney Way, releasing on August 10th, 2021. So, first question. How many book titles are there on Amazon? Answer within 500,000. Keep going with those guesses. A gazillion. We have any more guesses? Do about 10 more seconds if anybody else wants to guess. Give you guys a chance to Google real quick. All right, the correct answer, 48.5 million titles. 48.5 million titles as of January 2021. Now that's titles. Keep in mind that a title can have multiple versions: paperback, hardback, e-reader, audiobook, etc. All right, next question. What's the largest self-publishing platform after KDP? We'll go about 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds. All right, largest platform, Barnes & Noble Press. Barnes & Noble Press opened as a competitor to Amazon, and they currently house more books than any other self-publishing platform other than Amazon. All right, and last question. You can just answer with a letter on this one. Which of the following is not considered one of the big five? A, Penguin Random House, B, Hachette Book Group, C, HarperCollins, D, City Limits Publishing, E, Simon & Schuster, or F, Macmillan. All right, correct answer, City Limits Publishing. Not yet, at least. All right, first of all, that was just a little fun. Jim doesn't know this yet, but I'm actually going to send your entire group free copies of his book, courtesy of City Limits Publishing, as a little bit of a thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. So it's a great book. I know you'll love it. So this gets us to kind of the point of our discussion, and that is what changes the publishing industry is seeing right now. And what changes digital specifically has brought, what challenges digital has brought to us all. So the problem, everyone can publish any and everything. And if you're a member of any writing groups on Facebook, I'm a member of many, you see some of the things that people publish without editing, or without, beta readers or testing or anything. It's amazing some of the stuff that gets put out there. The quality of content has not increased proportionately, and the audience for quality is decreasing. In some ways, I think that we're desensitizing a lot of our audience. We're desensitizing readers to what qualifies as a high quality book. The market has become oversaturated, causing major content distribution problems. As we pointed out earlier, 48.5 million titles on Amazon. That alone kind of shows that we've become oversaturated. And additionally, the way that people are consuming content is different. Less people are reading, more people are watching. I do think, however, that the pandemic kind of shifted some of that. I don't know how many of you were involved in Zoom book clubs over the last year, but I personally have been in about a dozen of them, most of them trailing off after the first few months, but it's definitely provided me an opportunity to do a lot of great reading. And with all of these problems, the standards are decreasing daily on what people call good. We used to define good as award-winning, as being published, traditionally published. We used to define good as, sales figures and numbers. But now with the ease of access to everything, our definition of good has decreased, and our ability to define what good is has decreased as well. So the book business itself keeps changing. In the early days of books, they were coveted and respected. I was thinking during the beginning of this meeting, I was looking at everyone's bookshelves behind them and was just insanely jealous, especially like I can see Jim's right now. And I'm just insanely jealous of all the bookshelves in the books. I live in an apartment. I'm still transitioning from living in New York City to Nashville, and I'm still amazed at all the space that I have here. So I haven't filled my bookshelves back up yet. But in the early days, books, printed copies, were coveted and respected. And if you've ever smelled a book from a library, you know that. Amazon changed the game with mass distribution at the fingertips of anyone with a computer. So when Amazon came on the scene, they really revolutionized how we consume books and how we buy books. They made it easy. We no longer went to Barnes and Noble or Borders. We now ordered everything online, and everything was shipped right to our door 1 to 2 days. It's super convenient. However, that has really hurt a lot of small presses, and in turn, a lot of self-publishers as well. Amazon makes it easy, but they certainly don't make it profitable for the authors, just for themselves. Again, Amazon further changed the industry by introducing self-publishing platforms available and free to the masses. So again, this goes back to the quality. Anyone can publish anything at any time. And if you look through some of the titles, especially, I strongly encourage you to take your own book and put that title in Amazon and view all of your competitors who have the same title. I don't believe there is such a thing as an original title anymore, thanks to Amazon. Everyone's just kind of repeating the same title with a different synopsis and a different cover. Now, there are tens of thousands of self-publishing platforms promising to be better than the rest. They range from the free options to the super expensive. I even, as a traditional publisher, I even lump vanity presses in with the self-publishing options because they don't make their money off of book sales. They make it off of you, just like all the other self-publishing platforms. Like we said before, Amazon now has over 48 million titles in circulation, mostly self-published. So as a response to this, small publishers are changing too. We are making a greater push for digital, and we're altering our strategies to increase digital distribution. We're changing the way that we think about the publishing process to compete with these self-publishing platforms. And we're altering our advertising strategies to meet the market where it is now. So with my company specifically, we have made a greater push to digital and promoting all of our books on various digital platforms. We've set up advertising campaigns. We really push, the bulk of our budget is spent on pushing digital because the people that love a printed copy of a book are going to buy a printed copy of a book whether you put it in front of them or not. They're always going to go and find that book, and it's always going to live on their bookshelf. However, we want to meet the readers who are, I always classify them, and you'll see this later, I classify them in two different ways. We have book lovers and we have book readers. Book lovers are the people that are going to buy the book, keep it on their shelves, and it's there for forever. Book readers are the people who are just looking for the next great beach read that they can have on their Kindle and finish in 6 hours. So we are pushing, book lovers are always going to buy the book. Book readers are the ones that we need to get to. So we have really changed our strategy to make a greater focus on digital. The whole world has gone digital. Again, for book lovers, there's nothing better than holding a book in your hand and feeling the paper. Or I love the smell of books. I don't know about you, but I love the smell of books. That's the one thing I've missed during this whole pandemic, is going into a library and just sitting there for hours and picking up the oldest book I can find. For book readers, Kindle is king and Nook is too. More tablets and e-readers mean more sales, right? It's not true. Because the market is so overly saturated with content, sales are actually decreasing for the independent and increasing for the big publishing houses and things like that. Free platforms and subscription services are killing the traditional publishers, and there's nothing we can do about it, or little we can do about it. I don't know if anybody here publishes on Wattpad. It's great for self-publishers. I hate it because people have the opportunity to go up there and just post a story and walk away and be done. Now, that story may make them 78 cents over the course of their journey on Wattpad, but that disqualifies me from ever grabbing that book and saying, hey, I can make this something. Mostly because out of that 78 cents, probably had about 200 readers. You just didn't get paid much for it. So, it's very difficult for us. Kindle Unlimited is another one that really hurts us. When you list that book for free, when people list that book for free with a subscription, we can't do much with it afterwards. But if you want to go the route of self-publishing, then obviously all of these tools are to your advantage. So how are we handling this change? How are small presses handling the change? So I spoke to 10 of my colleagues. I had a little Zoom session where we all just kind of chatted about different issues that we're all facing right now. A lot around the pandemic, but how we're handling the switch to digital and seeing everything shrink in the traditional publishing field, unless you're one of the big five. I should asterisk that. We're employing bleeding heart campaigns. That's what I call them. We're focusing on shop small, shop local campaign strategies. We're joining your social campaigns, and we're walking with you through difficult times, reminding you to escape in a good book. I'm seeing a lot of publishers that I follow, small publishers that I follow. They're amplifying Black voices. They're amplifying the LGBTQ community whenever there's a struggle. We're joining in on these social campaigns, and we're really trying to be with our readers where they are when they need us. And then we're demonizing the man, and we're empathizing with those struggling. I don't know, Jim, if I said this to you in our conversations, but I always encourage people, Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more money. Jeff Bezos has to spend $78 million a day to not make money on interest. $78 million a day. Now, I have to spend a lot less than that. But I always say, I always tell people, shop small, encourage your readers to shop small, encourage your readers to shop directly with the publisher. Because, we sell these books, we sell your books to Amazon at discounted rates. We only see a portion of that come back. So we're really pushing, small publishers are really pushing to this, shop small and shop local. We're focused more on the author. This is something that I have seen come about just here in the last couple of years. Your book is second to your brand these days. I personally don't sign any author until I've researched them. And that was something that I started very early on. I look at their previous works. I look at their social accounts. We require social media links on all of our submissions so that we can identify your reach as well, and how active you are on your social media sites. how you represent yourself holds more weight than your story these days. Things like cancel culture, hashtag Me Too, and hashtag Time's Up have made it more important for us to evaluate you as an author first. Nobody likes a scandal. Nobody likes surprises. So we try to, we try to mitigate that by doing our due diligence and our research. And unfortunately, that has also led us to problems where we have to reject authors. I've had to send out, we'll talk about this a little later, but we send out way more rejection letters than we send out acceptance. But sometimes it's because the author has not represented themselves in a way that really kind of fits with what we're doing. And I don't mean that, politically or anything like that. I really mean that in just, are they a good person? And will the majority of people see them as a good person, or are they posting stuff on their social media accounts that's going to be controversial and cause me issues down the road? With every book that we publish, we invest $14,300 before the first sale happens. That's kind of our general budget. And so we have to be careful. We're expanding our digital capabilities. We're selling e-readers directly to consumers through our websites with detailed instructions on how to load your e-reader book to your device. We're investing in technology platforms like Audiobooks Unleashed that provide us and the authors more of their royalties. I don't know if you're familiar with the latest scandal with ACX, but I know they personally owe my company about $4,800 that we have not seen yet. And, in dealing with all of my narrators, they're not receiving their royalty payments. So I highly recommend avoiding ACX. But we're investing in technology platforms that actually work with us rather than against us. And then we're also investing in loyalty programs in our online stores. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to shop directly with small presses. You buy a book through our bookstore, we automatically give you $5 towards your next purchase. And that is almost the entire price of an e-reader. So you're basically getting 2 books for one. So that's something that we've been working on. We've increased our shipping abilities. We've really worked hard on a direct distribution as well. And we're not listening to the naysayers. I'll tell you, it's very, very hard to start and run a publishing company when internet trolls hide behind their keyboards and try to destroy the entire industry. We've had, I've got a lot of stories about this that I could tell. We're focusing on positive reviews and discounting the Karens of the world, with no offense or disrespect to anyone named Karen. And we're working to focus more on ensuring we aren't seen as vanity presses because we aren't one of the big 5. The story that I can use to illustrate this, back in September, I hope everyone's familiar with PitMad, hashtag PitMad on Twitter, where you get to pitch your books to publishers and agents in 160 characters. We participated in that back in September. And almost immediately after we started participating and liking people's tweets and trying to find more authors to join our roster, somebody posted in Absolute Right about our company, and people tore us apart. I've never read so many hateful things from people who never took the time to actually get to know us. They looked at our homepage and said, we're a vanity press. We're not. They said that they took issue with the fact that one of my books was published through us. They said, okay, he probably just started the company for himself. They took issue with the fact that I started it during a pandemic and said, what's the significance of that? I mean, I'll tell you what the significance was. While everybody else was watching Tiger King, I was developing logos and strategies and finding everything. So that's part of our story. So we're really working hard to to not listen to the naysayers, really working hard. Coincidentally, a couple of months ago, after we spelled out, all over our website, we're not a vanity publisher, we're full traditional. People on Reddit said we were trying too hard to sound like a traditional publisher. So it goes to show that we just can't win. You can't win it. You can't win over with everyone. So that's been a fun little ride. So next, I'm going to go through what my staff hears every week during our weekly meetings. I call it the 4 butts. We cut our budget, but we're spending more money. We reduce the number of tools we use to help save us time and effort in sales, distribution, marketing, and operations, but we spend more money on author acquisition, strategic marketing to retail partners, and social media campaigns. We have to remain nimble in a market that has become oversaturated, and there's more content than there are readers out there. So we reduce our overhead costs, but we spend more on advertising and reaching our readers in the right place. We reduce our production costs by employing hybrid print models. If you're unfamiliar with hybrid print models, this is something that's only come out in the last couple of years. Printers now are leveraging their presses to so many different companies that they're allowing people the option, and this is one that we use, they're allowing people the option to say, yes, we're going to print 10,000 copies of this book, but we're going to print 10,000 copies of this book over the course of a year. So we may start by printing 2,000 copies, and then in a month, print 1,000 more, and then in 2 months, print 1,000 more. And this helps us to spread our costs out. It helps us to, cut our direct budgets and spend over time. And we're spending more, unfortunately, on Amazon advertising. We spend a lot of money each month advertising our e-readers on Amazon. But it's great because their reporting shows us everything that we need to see. We see who's clicked on it, what they searched for to click on it, where they came from, everything about them. So we can really keep our targeting. And then we spend a lot on SEO and social media. Get creative, but think logically. We give the art department more freedom in the use of our brand, but we change the messaging to meet what the market currently values. So we're undergoing a project right now to completely revamp our website and our messaging. When I started the company, I had just a handful of authors. And so it became very important to me to show that we're here for the authors. We're here for them throughout this entire process, every step of the way. And what we've learned is some of our early authors kind of got mixed messaging from that. We're here for our authors, but we also have to make the sale, and we have to sell the books. We have to sell the copies. So we're currently changing our messaging to make sure that our authors know that we are partners. We're working on this together. It's not, one person has more control over the other. We're partners, and we're going to work together to make sure that we have the best possible outcome. Don't sacrifice quality of content, both editorially and in terms of art, but plan, budget, and forecast viability of every small project in detail. So every book project has a budget, and that goes through intense scrutiny throughout the entire process. And then reduce but expand. Offices and brick and mortar are out unless you're also a bookstore. I'm currently working from my guest bedroom and the room that houses my dog's toys. I've been working from here since, before the pandemic, and we don't plan to ever open an office. My team is all over the world. We have people in New York, in Pennsylvania, Virginia, 2 people in London now, 1 person in Mozambique. So we're all over the world. We're everywhere. So we have cut out all of our overhead expenses with any sort of brick and mortar or anything. But we expand our presence in online forums and outreach. We do things like this, where we come and speak to writers guilds, and we hear direct feedback from authors. We increase our presence in Reddit forums and Facebook groups so that we can be listening just as much as we are talking, because I think that that's absolutely important. And ultimately, I learn a lot about book buyers by just listening to authors. And then we cut our on-hand inventory and we reduce our first print runs. So rather than carrying 10,000 copies at a time of a book on valuable shelf space in a warehouse, we carry 1,000 or 2,000 at a time, and we fulfill as needed in quantities of 1,000. So we cut that, but we expand in our investment in people. My team has the opportunity to do education, taking classes, and continuing to learn and grow in their professional careers. We make an investment in them. We, in a time where so many companies were cutting jobs, we were building and creating jobs, which is something that I'm extremely proud of. So we're making our investments in people rather than, stuff. I think that's what this pandemic taught us, right? It's all about people. And then last, and truthfully this time, be selfless, but be selfish. We have increased our royalty splits with authors, especially on digital products and licensing, but we protect our profit and don't let anyone walk all over us. We are available to our authors, but we also train them on how to communicate with us and set boundaries. Jim can probably tell you and attest to this. We send out our author newsletter every other week, and every time we tell them, here's who to contact if you have questions about this. And also, don't call us at 6 a.m. because they do. So we definitely work hard to set our boundaries so that we protect ourselves and you, honestly, and our authors. 1 second. All right, so working with a small press. This is something that I wanted to get out most with this, because I wanted to talk about the myths of working with a small press. They only depend on your friends and family for sales. I wonder how many people have heard that in the past or seen that in a Facebook group or something. There's some truth to it. We encourage you not to give away free copies of your book. People who want to support you are going to support you. So, we do, yes, we do sell our books through Amazon as well. Thank you, Marge, for that question. We do sell our books through Amazon as well. Of course, we have to. Amazon is king. Jeff Bezos is, the ruler of the universe these days. So we do have to, but we still like to push shopping direct. And we don't only depend on your friends and family for sales. I have a full marketing team who pushes out to everyone. A lot of our authors are receiving feedback from people that they don't know. And that's what's been so rewarding, and has really been our best case study. Another myth is that we'll accept anyone. We're currently receiving between 50 and 60 submissions a day through our website. So much so that we had to pause it for about 2 months. We will not accept just anyone. We have a full quality review of all submissions, and then every manuscript goes through a thorough review. We're not, a vanity press will accept anyone with, $3,000 in their checking account. And that's not us. That they don't have the resources or experience to promote your work. We hear that a lot. My team has a combined 50 plus years of experience in publishing. And we have all the resources that are available to us that we can leverage. We are, in a great situation right now, where we're receiving POs from school districts for a lot of our work. We're receiving POs from companies like Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, Target, to put their books, put our books on their shelves. The one thing that we always tell people is just because Walmart buys your book and puts it on your shelf doesn't mean you're going to be able to go to the Walmart 8 minutes away and find it. They have their own distribution plans. Another myth, there's always a hidden clause in the contract where you'll have to pay X dollars before your book sees a single sale. I hear that one a lot, and we spell it out very clearly in our contracts. And then last, all of them are scams. The amount of times I've been called a scam over the last year would make your head spin. It's been very interesting. I always say that the writing community, I love the writing community. I've been a part of the writing community as both an author and a publisher for the past 15 years. But when they say the pen is mightier than the sword, they mean it. They certainly mean it. So what does working with a small press look like? For starters, you're going to know everyone's name. You learn very quickly who's working on your book, and you can email them directly. I have a friend who recently published with HarperCollins, and she said that she was speaking to a different person every week. She was, even when it was in editorial, she worked with her one editor, but she was often receiving updates from 15, 20 different people in art departments when talking through her project. We have an art department that's very small. You get to know your editorial team. Our editorial team gets sent gifts from authors sometimes. We send gifts out. And it's a true partnership. You become close to everyone. I unfortunately had a family member pass away, and I had to put up a notice on my out of office. I've received, so many kind messages this week from people, from our authors. You become a family. You really become a family when you work with a small press. You're not going to agree with everything your publisher says and does for your book, but they're doing it for all the right reasons. We like to say that if we all work together and maintain the perspective that the intent is for the positive, then we can all do well together. You maintain your rights. That's probably the biggest question that we get, and it's always in our grant of rights section of our contracts on the front page because it's the biggest question that we receive. So 5 tips when you're submitting to a small press. First of all, be personable. We're here to help you and your work. Don't be demanding or rude during the submission process. That seems like a no-brainer, but it has to be said quite often. Just this morning, somebody submitted a book on our site 12 times. That did not help their chances. Fortunately, they were very polite about it when I sent a message asking them to please stop submitting their book, that we had received it. So be personable. We're here for you. We're here to work with you. Keep it short and focused. No one wants to read a 4-paragraph tangent on how your Aunt Bitsy pinched your cheeks too hard as a child, and it prompted your memoir on surviving a loving childhood. True story. We received a pitch not long ago about somebody who wrote an entire memoir about having a loving childhood and how everything was absolutely perfect. And this was one of the examples that they gave. And it was a lot. Every good story has a great conflict, and that one had none. So yeah, give us all the information because we hate asking for details. That's the biggest and most important one that I can give you. Know your rights. You can ask us to sign an NDA, but be nice about it or let us offer. Any good publisher has an NDA already ready to go, signed, sealed, ready for you. So always ask your small publisher or your small press for an NDA before sending over your manuscript. And last, your synopsis better be original and include all the details of your story, or it's going in the decline pile before the first page of the manuscript. I'm certain that there are some outstanding books out there that we've passed on. We could have published the next Harry Potter, I'm sure, but because they had a terrible synopsis, it went on the decline pile. So definitely hire an editor to work with you on that. You more than likely, as an author, you're too close to your work. So having somebody else help, read it and help you write your synopsis is very, 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 very important. Now, I was told by Jim that I could give a little shameless plug, so I'm going to do that. First, remember this face? Yeah, I have mouths to feed. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and about my company. So I was laid off from a travel magazine on March 13th of last year, the day after I got out of the hospital from having COVID. And I was actually one of the first 5 confirmed cases in Tennessee. And I got COVID from a staff member who was traveling back from London and carried it on the plane right back to Nashville. So after being in the hospital, getting out of the hospital on March 12th, I was laid off on March 13th, and on March 14th, I launched City Limits Publishing. I did not watch all of Tiger King during the pandemic, as I mentioned before. Instead, I threw myself into 8 hours a day of strategizing and trying to figure out what I wanted out of my next project. We published our first book on July 27th, 2020. From there, we've grown from a team of me to a team of 14 in 12 months. We've acquired over 100 titles and filled our 2021 editorial calendar twice. We originally were publishing 1 book a week. Now we have had to shift to 2 books a week for the last half of our year. We've launched our new Author Central intranet system, which gives authors unparalleled access to their sales files, project status updates, project files, and direct access to a full-time design team to help with their book promotion. An author has an event coming up and they want bookmarks designed. They don't have to do it themselves. They fill out a form and we send it to them within 2 days. That's a service that we offer to our authors, and we have a fantastic design team. We joined the Ingram Ignite program for small publishers, which has allowed us greater access to distribution channels. And it's also helped us increase our sales by 780% since December 2020. And that has been fantastic. We also launched our author education series, City Limits After Dark, where we teach our authors about writing a synopsis, how to promote your work, properly use hyphens and dashes, etc. We've been featured by news outlets all over the world in our aggressive PR campaigns. And as of this, I'm particularly proud of, as of 3 p.m. yesterday, signing with a major school district in Texas, we've officially sold over 90,000 printed books, which is a lot. So we're very happy about that. And then we've also implemented a partnership with Royalty Tracker to give our authors a better understanding of where their books are being sold and at what price points. So you want to know what stores are carrying your books? It's right on your sales statement. You want to know how many copies were sold on Amazon? Right on your sales statement. So that's been fantastic. It's been a lot of work getting that launched, but we're very, very proud of it. Why we are different, because there are a lot of publishers out there, and I don't want to go through the Southwest spiel that you have plenty of options with your publishing needs. We have purposefully not pigeonholed ourselves into one genre or niche. We publish theatrical works. In fact, one of our best sellers is a play and is now being licensed across the country for when theaters reopen. We publish poetry collections, short story collections, novels, photo books, and coffee table books. Our biggest effort is to partner with our authors rather than exploit their work for our gain. Ultimately, I want all of our authors to be proud of what goes on the shelves. And so partnering with them to ensure that we have the best possible book is extremely important to me. Our staff is diverse in thought, and we work to see all sides and perspectives. I feel like one of the best things that I did was hire people that are smarter than me. And that has served me very, very well. When we're going through this whole remessaging and retargeting project and campaign right now. And it's, with this remessaging, I kind of had to take a step back and say, hey, you know what? You all own it. That's been something that has really helped me and helped my team. We kind of trust each other to know that we all know what we're doing, and we don't do anyone else's job. And most of all, we value transparency. We give transparency to our authors, but we also expect our authors to give transparency right on back. And then we relay that with our customers as well. The biggest example I can give of this was we had just done a huge release of a book, 2 books actually, in December. And immediately after the release, just before the release, our print facility was shut down due to a COVID outbreak. And then 2 weeks after the release, there was a little bomb in Nashville on Christmas Day, which knocked out all of our phones and internet services here in Nashville, where our printer is, and in my own home. And we immediately, I went over to a Starbucks in a neighboring county, sent out notifications to all of our customers, sent out notifications to all of our authors, because it's Christmas Day and I'm getting tons of text messages from authors asking if I was alive. But we believe in transparency. We believe in keeping people informed and up to date and making sure that everybody has everything that they need to make a positive and informed decision. Where we're headed, we are working to fill our 2022 editorial calendar right now. We're increasing our focus on children's books, youth literature, and young adult novels. We are very close to signing a distribution agreement with a certain top-heavy country singer who sends out free children's books to kids all over the country. We're very excited about that opportunity. We're processing roughly 50 to 60 submissions a day from authors around the world, and we're looking to expand our reach globally. We're increasing our marketing budget and adding 2 new marketing team members in the next quarter. We're increasing our technology to allow for even greater access to our authors. And we're building our reputation in the publishing industry by joining various groups and organizations and finding out that your entry fee is $20. My check will be in the mail tomorrow if you'll have me as an author. So that brings me to, would you like to join us? We would love to hear from you as authors. I see a question on here about being published through Draft to Digital. We would consider that on a case-by-case basis. I don't want to say that it's automatically out. That's kind of the industry standard, but at the same time, if it's a book that I feel like we can market, why not give it a try? We'd have to take that on a case-by-case basis. Rather than going into our general queue, this is specific to this group. If you want to email us at the address on your screen, and I'll ask Jim to send this out afterward, and include your synopsis, your bio, links to your social accounts, and the first 3 to 5 chapters of your manuscript, we will not put you in the queue with the people that have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for a response. Instead, we'll bump you up and have our editorial team review your work faster. So, and now we finish the joke. KDP, Ingram Spark, and a traditional publisher all walked into a bar, and the bartender said, "Sorry, we're fully booked." Thank you all so much for allowing me to present. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them. You can put them in the chat, or you can just yell it out.
I'll yell one out.
Okay.
I got a question. Okay, so good joke, by the way, and great presentation. And oh my gosh, I cannot believe how busy you are and how accomplished you are. And let me give you my congratulations. I'm sure everybody here is just blown away by all that you've done.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're okay. That was where that RV was blown up outside of, yeah, oh my God.
I felt it. I felt it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So now you know what an earthquake feels like.
There's a reason I live on this coast.
Yeah. I wanted to ask one self-serving question.
Sure.
If your dream author, well, okay, that's probably not a good question because your dream author, the question would be what kind of social media platform, what kind of, when you said you do research on potential partners that you want to work with.
Yes.
What do you look for? I know you're going to probably tell me, well, we look for, non-extreme polarizing kind of social media, that kind of thing. But of course, that makes sense. But just in a real simple, generic sense, is there a particular platform? Are there particular social media platforms that carry more weight for you? And what is a typical following that you, would like to see? Are you looking for websites with blogs? Is blogging even really that important? Can you just give me like the one or two things that would mean the most to you as you were evaluating potential authors to work with?
Sure. So first of all, I don't go by the numbers. A lot of publishers, and this was something during my discussion, they said they won't accept anyone unless they have 500 people following their Facebook. I don't go by the numbers. What I look for is quality. I'll tell you one of the biggest things that I look for, and this is just me being candid. If you have spelling errors or punctuation errors in your social posts on your professional writing page, that's something that I shy away from.
Sure.
How do we trust that the book is going to be, is going to be great? So I always, I always say review your work before you post it. So that's a big one. I mostly look at people's Facebook pages and Twitter accounts.
Okay.
Again, it's not about numbers for me. It's about quality, and it's about consistency. One author submitted to us and was very aggressive about their submission. It was actually Jim. No, I'm kidding. One author submitted to us and was very aggressive about their pitch, saying that, this was going to be the next John Grisham novel, just very aggressive. And I went to their Facebook page and they had not posted in over a year. And so how do I trust that they're going to have a following at that point, or that they're going to have some sort of engagement? So that's something that I look at: consistency, content. I mostly stick with Facebook and Twitter. I'm young, but I'm still not in like the Snapchat phase or the Instagram phase or anything like that. All that's the generation or two under me. So I'm mostly just stick to that, stick to Facebook. And one thing that I love to see from authors, there's a way on Facebook to check and see if an author is interacting in any of the groups that I'm in, and I'm in a lot of writing groups. And so I like to check and see if they're promoting and helping other authors. I like to see interactions. If we see that someone is posting negatively about other authors, then we're probably going to end up having a negative experience with them. So
yeah, okay.
So yeah.
So Twitter and Facebook primarily, and then just generally quality citizenship, kind of. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to work with good people, right? I mean, we all want to have positive experiences with each other. The publishing process is stressful enough. We don't want to add to it by working with people that are rude or aggressive.
Got it.
So
okay. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. I see
somebody else have a question? Or
I think Cheryl does.
Cheryl?
Look on the chat too.
Are you able, Robert? Great presentation, thank you. And are you able to tell me what the name of the play is that's so successful that you've published?
Sure. It's called Abandon All Hope.
Great, thank you.
And it's fantastic.
Okay, great.
Fantastic. And definitely, if you want the best experience with it, buy the paperback and the audiobook and listen to the cast that performed it. It's so good.
Okay,
so
great.
good.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So I did see a couple of questions in the chat. How much working capital did you need to get up and going? A lot. Yeah. Like I said, each book receives a budget starting off kind of our bare minimum of $14,300. So I'm going to let you do the math. We have over 100 titles, and we have a staff of 14, and I don't sleep anymore. So, so yeah, so it's, we definitely scaled our growth. I put that MBA and that PhD to good use and scaled my growth and tried to be smart about it. And it seems to be working so far. So we're going to keep pushing forward for sure. Yes.
Okay, Valerie.
He's muted.
You're muted again. Valerie, you're muted.
Congratulations, Robert. Your presentation was exactly what I've been looking for. I have some manuscripts I consider polished, but they don't have covers, they don't have artwork, all that sort of thing. Is that something that you would have a staff member to help me with?
I would prefer that you don't already have a cover. I would prefer that it not be formatted. I would prefer that you don't already have a cover. And as Jim can attest, our author orientation forms are very thorough. We collect a lot of information from our authors. There's 6 forms, and they're all routed to different departments. And I always tell people up front, I'm so sorry for the forms, but open them all up in one window and don't submit them until you're done, because you're repeating a lot of information. But no, we prefer that you don't have it formatted, that you don't have a cover, that you just have to have. Because we have an incredible art department that really works to make sure that our books are not necessarily uniformed, but that they all fit within a brand. So I'm trying to see if I can find some that we.
Right.
One second.
I was so concerned because.
He'll be back. Hang on a second. I will say this while Robert's gone. Working with them has been very exciting. I have not gotten my galleys yet, but they're due soon. But just when I get the every other week newsletter, which is very informative, you should certainly go on their website and look at at what the titles they're offering. They're varied. Just varied titles, and I've been impressed. Okay, yeah, Robert, there you are.
Yeah, so we, these are custom illustrations done by our art department. This is the play that I was telling you about. That's just fantastic. And I love what our art team has done, with the interiors of the books as well. We really work hard as a company to make sure that we're putting out very high quality books. We prefer matte finishes on our covers rather than gloss. Kind of hides the scrapes and scratches that go along with owning a book. And then we do cream interior paper. And we, rather than doing a 38-pound, which is kind of considered like the traditional, or not to demean Walmart, but it's what Walmart requires of all of their books. We do the higher paper quality 50-pound. And I think that shows in our books. So back to your question, you don't need a cover. we've got an art department for that. We would love to, design that for you. So
I've been going nuts trying to find a Japanese artist to do my Japanese haiku and senryu poetry, and I've just been very disappointed in the results of my own search.
Sure. Well, submit it, and we'll let our team take a look.
I have one quick question for you, Robert. Do you have connections? Let's say that you have a book that is might make a TV series or a movie. Are you connected with people who you can submit that to?
Sure. So that's a question that we get a lot. So our contract is structured in a way that we allow our authors to go out and find an agent for if they want to adapt the book to a movie, if they want to sell the book to be adapted to a movie, we allow them to do that with no licensing fees coming back to us. Or we have an agent that we work with specifically, who reviews our work from time to time, and we'll keep that in mind when they're pitching to different projects. We have one book right now, and I can't disclose any other information about it. One book right now that is being optioned for a film, and that's a deal that we brokered, and we're very, very hopeful for it. It's a fantastic book. And I think it will be an outstanding movie. We're hoping that the client is a streaming service, so we're hoping that they will pick it up and run with it. So in those deals that we broker, we do take obviously we do take a percentage of licensing on that.
Certainly. I'm just hoping that my book is taken as a movie, made into a terrific film, and I get a small part in it. But so
there you go.
Other questions, Marge, you have one.
Yeah, Robert, are you working with literary agents, or do you prefer not to work with a literary agent?
So that's a good question. Sometimes, I have no disrespect for the work that literary agents do at all, ever. We work with them for sure. If the project is something that we want, we work with them. But there's a certain level of communication that we spell out on the upfront when working with literary agents. I'm not going to email an agent when I have a question about publishing your book. You know what I mean? We don't like agents to be the middleman. We like them to be a spectator in the partnership, basically. And obviously if there's a problem, then a literary agent's meant to step in and handle that. But for the most part, we prefer to work directly with our authors, and we invite literary agents into the process, but ask them to respect the process. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would like to say too, Robert, the people in our group, there are some very fine writers in our group here. And hopefully you'll get a chance to see some of their work. I've been really impressed with some of the writers in our group.
Yeah, I want to read this literary magazine. It sounds fantastic.
Straight Jacket, and it's spelled S-T-R-A-I-T. Straight. It's named after the man who really kind of is the founder of all this, named Raymond Straight. Now Raymond Straight who's still alive. He's 96 or 7. Lives here in Hemet, but he was Jane Mansfield's private secretary. And he's got about 30 books or so on celebrity biographies and so forth. Right. So that's where Straight comes from.
I have a question.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, Chuck.
I'm not really an author. I do write some, and Straight Jackets has been a great place for me to do my short stories. But while you were talking, I went ahead and looked up your plays. And I'm always looking for plays to do for the groups that I work with. And one of the things I noticed is I didn't see information with regard to how many characters, how long was the runtime, things like that. Is that something that you don't do when you put up that sort of thing?
So that's, I'm actually just making a note real quick. Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. Because our plays right now, we're opening our licensing division. We have a tentative start date of it in June. And we've just hired somebody who's taking on all of that. Right now, all of our plays are reader editions. So we don't have that information right now about licensing, other than we have a page called theatrical rights on our theatrical licensing on our website.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are looking to implement that. There will be, like I said, we're going through a major redesign right now. We'll actually have on our website, we'll have a specific page where you can link over to view like performance rights, request rights, view how much it costs per performance, the cast breakdown, etc., read sample chapters, things like that.
So it's coming. Right now, my approach would have been, having read the promo, would have been to buy the play, read it, decide for myself if it was appropriate or whatever. But it's a lot easier if I get that other information. I mean, if you've only got 8 actors, it's kind of hard to run a 30-actor show.
Yeah.
It's kind of busy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And we have about 24 plays on the horizon that'll be launching within this year.
So with time.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And to your thing about old books, I just recently read an old book or play that was first published in 1920, The Enchanted Cottage.
Okay.
And it was quite interesting. They took it out of the storage for San Diego library, okay, and it had been fixed up, okay, because it had been falling apart and whatnot. So it was kind of interesting. So old plays also fall in that category. And a movie was made out of it.
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah, Robert Young.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the contrast, of course.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else have another question? Comment? No. All right. Well, that would seem to be it, Robert. And I wish to really thank you. This has been not only enlightening, but just really entertaining. You did a great job. And I can tell from people and all, they really enjoyed it too. We've been looking forward to it. And I think you delivered what we expected, what we at least hoped for. And not always we don't always get what we expect, but I think you did a terrific job. And I thank you very, very much. Everybody, give them a... All right. Our next meeting is in May. I would like to tell you who we're going to have as a speaker, but we don't have one. But we'll find somebody. we'll throw somebody into the fray, and hopefully we have a good speaker next year.
Jim, we do have a speaker. I sent you all the stuff. Michelle.
Yeah, we have a speaker.
We do.
Yay!
All right.
We were worrying about nothing.
How I missed it, I don't know, but I can always fall back.
It's a genius operation, I'm telling you. Yeah. We got some good people working here.
Karen, can you tell us about the speaker for next month?
Michelle.
It's not Mary Putnam.
No, no, it's Michelle Dalrymple. And I sent you her photo and introduction, etc., for your next newsletter out.
Karen, what's she going to be talking about?
She is going to be talking about keeping your motivation to write when you have 5 kids, 6 pets, a husband, and a full-time job teaching at 4 different colleges.
Excellent.
All right.
I think you'll enjoy her. She is full of vim and vigor, obviously, or she would never be able to keep up with the schedule that she has. So
good catch.
It will be motivating for all of us.
All right.
Once again, Robert, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.
And everybody, we will see you next week, okay? Next month, I mean, next month.
Bye.
All right.
We love you, Jim.